Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I encounter throughout the day. If for some reason I complete a task and you would like to see the details, you can click on the link in the description area below. This video also contains tips and tricks that I learned throughout the years. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. Thank you very much for watching. Stopped by Bessler's Auto Salvage, ran into a Volvo enthusiast with a V70R
from Belgium
with a slick top. Man, I don't think I've ever seen one of these. Slick top.
And no
Look at that thing, man.
And there's no lumber.
He's got it going on. Here we are, folks. Bessler's U-Pool. Evidently, this is next to an Amazon warehouse. You know those big old buildings, Amazon distribution center. So I'm gonna go back to that red 850 wagon and get a few more parts from it, and then I think I'll be done gathering the parts for that rebuild. I just forgot to grab a couple things when I was out here Saturday, and today's Monday, so we're gonna finish up on grabbing those parts, see if there's any other weird, strange things I need to get, and get out of here, get back over to the house, do some work. Here we are, folks, about to dismantle a little bit more. I'm gonna grab a couple of blend door motors, and I'm gonna grab some clips for securing the fenders on, stuff like that. Grab a hinge over that side for the hood. Those wheels are Borbits, 15-inch. So I wanted some of these cast nuts here, so I took the nuts out of them, and I got to figure out how they're supposed to come out of the fender without destroying them. They just pry out, kind of like spring loaded. So I'm gonna get 3 or 4 of those, take with me. A couple of these bolts. I might take this hinge too, just to be on the safe side of not having a bent hinge. Now we get some Nelson wood shims from Home Depot. That's the skew on them, and you wedge them in this spring, then you raise the hood and the spring comes right off. So I got a video for that. I need to get this hinge off of here. You could put more in if you like, but I put one in every other one, then I was able to pry it loose with the screwdriver. But if you put one in every one, you'll be fine. So you got more than enough shims in there. You split them in half to do that. Now I can put this in a position where I get that last bolt out and remove this hinge, take it with me. Learned a little bit more about these blend door motors. This one here directs air to your face vent and your defrost, and the one down below it on the sides control the heat going down to the floor, the heat or the air, and sometimes something falls down there and jams that, causes it to break the post on the other side. Then the lower ones closer to the floor controls the temperature. What's happening, party people? About a week ago, you guys remember I asked about battery chargers. I'm usually running batteries up to the auto parts store, having them tested, usually charged for free. That's a service a lot of auto parts stores offer, because if the battery's bad, they have first shot on selling you one. Now, I'm not trying to say they tell you that your battery's bad just to sell you one. I'm saying that they offer that service. They can charge up your battery for you and get you back on the road. Now, normally batteries discharge from cars sitting a long time. A lot of cars have something that'll drain on the battery a little bit every day. Now, occasionally, the most common thing that goes bad that'll drain your battery in 2 or 3 days is the alternator. Something goes wrong in that alternator, it starts sapping power out of your battery. So that's your number one cause of dead batteries. Batteries that die in a couple days. Sometimes people leave lights on and stuff like that, and that'll discharge a battery too. So I asked, a lot of you guys gave me some great recommendations. I did some research, and I came up with a battery charger that I think is probably going to work for me. Now that I'm in a place where I have storage, little bit of garage space, things like that, I can use a battery charger. Battery chargers are really, I don't think, that good to use in the confinement of your personal residence. But if you have a storage facility, like something off your carport or a garage, that's a good place. Maybe even a basement's a good place to do battery charging. You know, something goes wrong, you don't want it to go wrong if you're not around. This is the battery that I believe was in Betsy. It's a value craft. Anytime you see value on anything automotive, to me, that's code word for cheap. Probably the cheapest battery. That place sells. I'm not sure if that's sold at O'Reilly's or whatever. At any rate, it's a entry-level battery. So I had this in Betsy. I went to unlock the door. It didn't feel right unlocking. That told me that the battery had discharged over a couple of months to a point where it needed to be charged. Now, one of the viewers gave an excellent suggestion. They said, hey Robert, what I use to charge my batteries is the car. He recommended starting the car, disconnecting the battery, pulling a good battery out, putting a weak battery in, and then letting the car charge it. I'm not a fan of disconnecting batteries in these newer high-tech fuel-injected multi-computer cars. So what I normally do is I install a weak battery, give it a jump start, and I recommend people drive the car around at least for 30 minutes. That will normally charge the battery up enough to get you started the next day. I don't know how good that does, so we're going to do a test. Besides all that, there was 5, I thought, great recommendations, and this is one that I ended up with. The NOCO Genius 5. It's a battery charger maintainer. I've also read that if the battery is not 100% dead, down to like 3 volts, it could actually rejuvenate and bring that battery back to life to be a great battery for you. So I got this one. There was one I seen on Jay's Garage that was very enticing. I almost bought that one. This one was only like $10 cheaper. I've heard good things about a charger from Harbor Freight and a couple others that were good, but there was only 3 that I read will actually bring a battery back from the dead, and this was one of them. So what we're going to do is a little test. I'm going to bring out my battery tester that I have, my top-down tester, test this voltage. Now, this battery was sitting in advanced auto for probably about 6 hours being charged. I was told it was charged up to like 11 volts. It started out, it wouldn't even register voltage, or it was around 3 volts. I don't think it was totally dead, and I don't think it's that old. The battery was actually purchased, I think, this year. So this battery is just 6 months old. It was in the car when I got it. It's a good battery. So we're going to test the voltage on it. Then I'm going to put it over there back in Betsy and discharge it down to nothing. I'm going to let it drain the battery down to 3 volts or less. Then I'm going to put it in Panther, drive for 30 minutes, check the voltage after 30 minutes, and then let it sit all night, and then see if it'll start the car the next day. See what the voltage is the next day and if it'll start the car. Let's go ahead and get started with this test. And basically, we're testing the car charger system against this NOCO Genius 5. And man, I tell you, to be honest with you, these cars were designed to maintain and charge your battery for years. So really, if you need a battery charger, man, get you a jump box, put your battery in a car that runs, jump it, drive that car for 30 miles or so. That should charge up your battery. However, you want to keep your jump box with you, because if you shut it off somewhere and the battery's too dead to be charged, you don't want to be stranded. You want to be able to jump that car off, make it back home. So let's go ahead, get my charger out, test this battery, put it in Betsy, drain it down with the lights on, and then proceed with our battery test. I don't know if you guys remember this, but a few days ago, I drove the resident truck, this V6 Dodge Dakota Sport. When I got to the car, it had sat, man, probably here a couple of months. Got in the car, battery was dead. got my jump box, jumped it, drove 15, 16 minutes, something like that. Got back in the car, still wouldn't crank it. Then I jumped it, drove another 15 minutes over to Home Depot. When I came out of Home Depot, it fired up. I drove it home, no problem. So the charging system in this Dakota charged up the battery that was sitting in it for a few months. Typically when you take a battery to the auto parts store, they'll hook it up to a tester, test it, see what the tester says, and if it's weak, below 12 volts, they'll go ahead and hook it up to their charger. Now they have chargers that are several $1,000s to service and maintain and charge batteries. I've heard somebody say that one of these places had a $30,000 battery charger. I don't know how true that is. At any rate, sometimes places like AutoZone can take and charge your battery that's low, below 10 or 7 volts, charge that thing in 30 to 45 minutes. That's kind of what a charging system in a car would do, 30 minutes or so. But if the battery has dead cells in it, sometimes it'll reject charging those because it has dead cells. Now most of these car batteries, like this one here, will have 6 cells in it. You may hook up a voltmeter and get a 12 or 13 volt reading, and that reading may only come off of 2 cells. It can have 4 dead cells, 2 good cells, and give you a voltage reading. That's why it's important to let a actual battery tester test the voltage in the battery, because it reaches down a little deeper and it'll check all 6 cells in the battery. Some cars have 8 cells, depending on what kind of car it is. These big Jaguars, Mercedes-Benz and stuff like that, they might have 8 cell batteries, maybe more, but most of your car batteries are probably 6 cells. So let me grab my battery testing tool and get to work. I had this battery sitting on a piece of metal, my car dolly, off the ground, so it was not sitting on the ground. I've heard that batteries sitting on the ground can cause them to discharge, but this one was sitting off the ground on my metal part of my car dolly. It says here that it has 11.6 volts, so we're going to hit OK. We're going to select English. We're going to select out of vehicle test. Before charge, OK. Regular flooded battery. Cold cranking amps. I believe this one has, it says 615. Kind of a bigger than needed. So let's run this up to 615. Cold cranking amps. It's testing the battery, and it'll tell us if the battery is good. Well, it says recharge it and retest it. It maybe currently has 225 amps instead of 615 amps. So let's go ahead and drop this in Betsy and see if it will start the car. Well, I have a little drama going on here with Betsy. I sent the idle air control valve to somebody and the mass airflow sensor. So this car is probably not going to start, but we can at least see if it'll crank. So I'm going to go ahead and see if it'll crank 5 times at this 11.6 volts, and if it does, we'll go ahead and set it up to drain the battery and then do some of the other tests that I was talking about. We got power, and here goes next to nothing. If it'll crank 5 times, I think it would start, but let's see what happens. Fired right up. So we know that is enough to start the car, even though it's running rough. Alternator is not connected, serpentine belt's not hooked up. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off and run the battery down. I'm gonna leave the ignition in the run position. I'm going to turn the lights on, and I'm gonna let it sit here for 2 hours. It is now 4:37, and maybe in 2 hours the battery will be discharged down around 3 volts. Our target is down around 3 volts, but we'll take 5. So there you have it, folks. The car will start with the mass airflow sensor disconnected and the idle air control valve disconnected. So anyway, I got the key in the ignition. I got the car locked. I pulled the fuse for the ignition coil and fuel pump. So nobody can jump in it and drive off. But in the meantime, this should run down the battery, and then we'll come back in a couple of hours, make sure we're discharged past 5%, and then charge the battery up. So one of the tests is going to be to see if 30 minutes of driving will charge the battery up close to 12 volts. Another test will be to see how much charge your car will charge the battery up every 30 minutes of driving. And then we'll put it on this battery charger that I purchased, and we will see how long it takes to charge the battery up to at least 12 volts. Because we know the car will start with 11.6, no problem at all, even with a bad mass airflow sensor or a missing one, even with a missing idle air control valve. Boy, after about 10-15 minutes, that light's getting real dim already. So it may not take that long to get it down under 5 volts. After 40 minutes, it's only run down to 10.4 volts. I thought it would be lower than that, so let's see what happens after I let it sit overnight, I guess. While I'm waiting on that battery to discharge, this hood is having a hard time opening. That's where one of the pads hit. That's where the other pad hit. Something was there, and it looks like it's cracked, but somebody pulled it off, whatever it was. They don't even have the real bumper up there. No wonder that hood's not opening. So let me find one of those, put it up there. In the meantime, I'm going to put one of these there. Maybe that'll help that thing open up. But yeah, I don't know why that thing's missing. That's weird. I'm starting to think maybe this car was in a little bit of a fender bender that bashed the front end, because we got a crack on the core support there, and it's got 2 new headlights. And maybe this hood's a replacement. But at any rate, that's okay. No big deal. I'm going to go ahead and keep trying to discharge this battery. While we're waiting on that battery to discharge, I'm going to go down there and maybe install this door and pull the battery out of one of those cars and hook it up on this car charger, see if I could get it to fire up. This is Lucille, y'all, with a bashed in door. So I'm gonna open this door, try to swap these 2 doors out real quick, because it looks like it's letting the weather in. How about that? Rains a lot around here too. This door opens and closes, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the framework. And just for the record, these P80 cars, 850s, they use the same doors for the sedans and the wagons. I had a guy say he had a wagon, he wanted to buy a door a certain color. I said, hey, I got one off a sedan. No, that won't fit. Dude, it fits. I wouldn't offer it to you if it didn't fit. However, sometimes there's adjustments that need to be made. And if somebody bend the hinges or the hanging post, you gotta straighten that stuff out. So there may be some adjustments that you need to make. They're the same doors. This door came off of an 850R wagon. I'm about to put it on this 850R sedan. Doesn't matter if it's an R or an NA, or if it's 850, the doors fit. They swap over. So here goes nothing. I'm going to unlock the car, swap the door out, adjust it if necessary, close the door, and not have a weather intrusion. I'm going to go ahead and pull that T40. Then I'm going to loosen those pins there. That one looks like it's already stripped out. Not sure about that one. Then I'm going to lift this door off. And then I'm going to hang this one on there. Got that door off. I'm going to go ahead and hang this door. Tried to unlock the door, wouldn't unlock because this bar here is loose in here. So let me pull that out. I'm gonna swap the latch from my old door onto this one because it's not unlocking, and that's not good. Yeah, this is all messed up in here. This will cause you not to open the door from the inside. That bar loose. Got that latch replaced. Man, that thing like to kick my butt. This thing ain't where it's supposed to be. Crap. Alright, there it is. Now the lock works. Lock, unlock. And now we're gonna see if the doors align. Ooh, dropped that pin. Oh, got that one almost all the way out too. Those will stop the door from coming back out. I don't need them to close the door though. I'll find that other one. It dropped around here somewhere. I'll find it during the day. Unless that cat walked away with it. Oh, here it is. There's the other one. See, this floor is dry right now, but it had gotten wet. So let's see if the door will close. See if the alignment's okay. Because when the latch is strong, I could pull the handle out here and it'll unlatch it. And I could pull the handle on here and it unlatches it. Bam, first try. Closed like a glove. Thank you, John Wart. Wagon door on a sedan. There we have it, folks. The door is replaced and I no longer have a weather leak. Tight as a drum. Now let's close this door, lock this car up, and get out of here. I don't know what I'm gonna do with that door. I guess I'm gonna strip it down and haul the carcass to the salvage. There is a old battery in here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this battery. It is dated February, March, April, May, or August, maybe 2015. So it's 5 years old, 6 years old. But it's dead as a doornail when I got to it to start the car. It's a super start. I don't know what that means. I think it's one of the O'Reilly brand, A5, whatever that means. But I'm gonna carry it up to the house, put it in the garage. It's wet on that side, probably from oil shooting on it. And I'm gonna see if I can get that thing to start. It does have a carrying handle, so that's good. So let's go take this thing, put it on the charger, and see what the charger does to it. I forgot the unschooled people that put this battery in screwed right down through the battery, through the casing, and into the battery tray. So I don't know if this battery even has water anymore. I gotta check, because I don't know if that would have caused it all leak out. Brilliant people. Let me get my Phillips screwdriver and try to unscrew. They actually screwed down through there and then stripped the screws. So I can't get those out. I'm not gonna fight with them. I'm gonna see if this car has a battery and take that one. And this car has no battery, so guess we won't be playing with batteries tonight. On this note, I'm gonna call it a night and tie this hood back down, because obviously the hood latches don't work. Lock it up, go back to the house. Whoop, whoop. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.